guys, it's Joe Blue back again. I'm going to retool my original video that I was going to do in response to Loctar, sort of long-awaited video that I'm editing. That's like over 2.5 hours long. I'm decided to scrap pretty much most of it. I'm just going to stick to one of the core sections of the video, and I'm going to redo part of it now, and then I'm just going to combine it with the other stuff, and hopefully it'll be somewhere around 40 minutes long or something like that. And I'll just have that as the video, just so I can get rid of this video and all the footage related to it off of my hard drive, and move on to other videos and stuff like that. So I'm basically going to go through a step-by-step analysis of this particular clip. This is a clip that Loctar has chosen. I wouldn't use it especially, but this is going to be about essentially showing why Loctar's straw man of me is not valid criticism, and it's just a form of mockery, and his channel is fallacious at its very core. So we're just going to watch this part here, and of course this is the section is, what are you looking at? So this person just like looks into this wall for a large amount of time, and there's no information that there's anybody around at this point anyway, and they just stay there and wait, looking, think. Okay, so what we're going to do now, we'll come to this blackboard here. We're going to go point 1, looking into wall for no reason. Likely wall hacks, really. Right, and I'm just going to put a +1 here. Are there any other reasons that would suggest that it's not wall hacks? Something in real life could have happened, right? Like they were taking a drink in real life. Yeah, I mean it's possible, right? They could have just looked that way, took the hand off of their mouse, was drinking, having a little bit of a yawn, a bit of an arm stretch. Nothing had to happen. Just a bit of respite, right? That's perfectly reasonable. So we'll go -1. So that puts this first reason here why they're looking to the wall at a cumulative value of 0. Got this weird where they're looking at the wall again, but nothing too suspicious really. I mean, it does look like they're just plain straight looking at the wall, but we'll just ignore that. We'll just assume that they're just moseying around and they're not really up to anything. Now, this was originally what I thought was a name lock here. So you can't see, originally it looked really blatant that they'd locked onto somebody that was around here. I was seeing it in 240 frames per second and you're only seeing it 60. So I'm seeing it like 3 times the amount of animations in that brief little moment that looks like nothing in this clip. At 240 frames, it looked like they'd locked momentarily onto somebody through the wall. Let's play some audio here on this little bit, this section here. What you looking at? What are you looking at? What are you looking at? And there is footsteps heard here, I think. You can hear footsteps, I think. Yeah. Yeah, so there's footsteps there. There is somebody there to the right. And it looked like that little, looked like a brief little lock on there. Now, it doesn't look like much in 60 FPS, but it does look like, it did look blatant at 200 FPS. Because you can't see it, I'm going to ignore this point, and it's just not valid as a point of evidence because you just can't see what I saw at the time. It's not admissible as evidence. Oh, was that a lock on there? Did he lock onto the dude around the corner? It looked a little bit like he might have locked onto somebody there. Footsteps left. So footsteps right. He does hear somebody on the right. See, he moved up. See, it's a little bit strange there. Let's just come back a little bit. Because they turned to that corner at the exact moment that the footsteps happened. It's not like they heard the footsteps and turned to it. They were already turning in the direction of the footsteps as the footsteps were happening. But that right there, that's the suspicious aim lock right there. That's the one. That's the aim snap, right? All of the other, like looking over there was footsteps. They were looking in the direction of footsteps. But these two looks to the right, there was no footsteps. And this one here, there's literally no footsteps for this particular looking straight directly through this wall. Okay, so let's go number 2. Again, looking into wall with no indication to do so. Now, Loctar's argument here is they were looking to cover the angle. So we'll go +1 here. Again, just put WH for wall hacks here. And then Loctar's reasoning here is they're covering the angle. They are covering the angle -1. My response to this would be, what angle? Like, what angle? It's like, this is the vault area, right? There's no access into this vault area except this corridor here. They know there's nobody there. There's no angle to cover. No one's going to be in that room. Right? The only access to this vault is down this corridor. Now, even if you could say that because they're paranoid, if they're paranoid, all they've got to do is cover this angle. They've got nowhere else to look. If there's somebody on the right, they're going to peek this angle here. Move from the left, they're going to come from the other side. And he knows that there's footsteps over this side. There's no reason for him to turn and basically lock on the direct line of where that person is through the wall when they should just be watching for them to peek around the corner. Right, what angle? Question mark. They should be covering the corridor, so +1. So there's no reason to look on that angle. There's no footsteps happening at the time when they look in that direction, and there's no reason to look in that direction. So this would suggest wall hacks or locking on with an aimbot. So this is +1. There's no other way. There's no other arguing around it. Like there's no reason to look there. There's no footsteps happening at the time they peek. There's no reason to peek it to lock on that angle when they should be covering the corridor where they know there are enemies and should be waiting for them to peek. They shouldn't be looking into walls at this point. So this is a +1. Now we need to go back a little bit. Actually, I just remembered. We need to go back to the very beginning of this section where this first person is first seen. We're gonna mute this. Right. So this person here is waiting here around this corner. Right. They flick open the door and then they do not come through the door. Point 3. This really should be point 1, but whatever. Opened door, didn't go through. Didn't go through. Right, so they opened, didn't go through. Suggests knowledge of player location. Knowledge of P, we'll just put P there. So +1. Is there another explanation for this? Well, they've killed the boss. They've got the medallion, so they've probably picked up the medallion. At the very least, they can see the medallion's dropped on the floor. They might even be holding the medallion. Can we tell? So they were holding the medallion, so they knew that the person was there, right? So they knew they had the medallion. They had the medallion, right? -1, so we've got 0 here. But it does prove that I'm aware that by opening that door, they did have extra knowledge that the player was there. So my instinct is correct. My analysis is correct, but there is a legitimate in-game reason for that. Right, so 4. So when they come around the corner, right there, let's go back. Let's play. Right, look at that, right? Let's go back. Can we go back frame? Yeah, we go. Like their face is locking directly on to the player. Like their face is always looking directly where they are on this corner. Right, they're still looking as if they're locked onto the player. Right, and then they just come in, bang, 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 looking at player as they turned around the corner, round corner, so +1, yeah. Maybe they're just looking at the corner, maybe they're just holding the angle of the corner, maybe holding angle of the corner as they travel around, whatever. -1, so we'll put this as a 0, right? Okay, and then 5. Right, so we're going back to where we basically was, right? And they turn again, right, and they lock on. And again, as they turn around, you could argue that they're basically looking again directly at the person, locked onto the person as they're going around the corner. Camera's going, looking directly at the angle that the player actually is. Okay. So we're going to do like same as above. We'll just do like brackets up, same above, but from their perspective, more or less. From I think it's a +1. I don't think there is like an answer for it. I think they are locking onto it, but some people might just say, "Oh, that's just the way that they're turning the corner." You know, they're turning the corner to move into the corner and then peak. Okay, so we'll just like same as above, like they're just holding the angle as they turn, holding, you know, as turning. Okay, so -1, but this is a 0 then, right? Okay, and then 6. Um, the 6, walking up face check disproves wall hacks. So face checking disproves that they have wall hacks. However, they still may have aimbot, and so far there is supporting evidence to suggest that they have aimbot walking walking through. So this is, I mean, I'm not really sure what to do here because like technically it disproves one aspect of cheating, but it doesn't completely dismiss cheating. So I'm thinking like maybe like a minus 0.5. It negates some of this. Let's put change this to a 0.5 for now. That seems fair. And for that, there's no way around that. It doesn't. It completely disproves wall hacks. Doesn't disprove a aimbot. So they run in, they face check, they get a fucking bullet to the face. The other guy has knowledge that they're there, but they can see the medallion, so they might be suspecting there's a trap. That's fine. I did think he was cheating at first, but I didn't know about the medallion system at this point, so I didn't realize that they knew about this in it. So this is a mistake on my part. Again, this looks like they're locking onto the person here again. Right, so they're locking onto the person and they move out with the person, like completely locked on. I mean, that might even suggest wall hacks to some degree. He probably hears the footsteps move, right? Right there, it looks like he's locked onto the person. And then hears footsteps, possibly moves with the person. Then you get these shots where there's literally no attempt. There's no attempt to go back. Point 0.7 appears to lock on through wall again. +1. Maybe hearing footsteps. Like maybe following footsteps. 0. Scroll down. 8. Right. So here's some this is some examples of controller aim assist. I mean, this is fucking it's insane, honestly. Like console aim assist is broken as fuck, mate. Ain't gonna lie. It's fucking so broken. Like a lot of this sort of aiming on the console is better what than what people can do on a keyboard and mouse, like flat out. Like not even remotely fair. Like close range, just shooting at that when people can move around all over the place. That's just not like human beings try to predict where people move and they make mistakes, especially in close quarters, like ranges like that, like where console controllers just literally there's no skill involved in it. It's completely unfair. It is cheating. I think it is cheating. Like the lock on moving around targets like that close is it's not easy to do, man. It's fucking broken, mate. And you wouldn't, and all this does is make people on PC cheat more because this is completely broken. It's completely not fair, and it actually creates a loop of cheating where people cheat just to be better than the console aim assist, which is clearly broken. When a lot of the fights are happening at close range, and there's so many tools to close the distance, like having aim assist this strong is just flat out unfair for anybody that's not using a controller. And playing with a controller when it's that strong is fucking boring. Like you're barely even playing the game at that point. So this is example of controller aim assist. So now we're going to watch this guy. He's going to take a chunk of damage to the face. He's got a blue auto shotty here. He's at a deficit. He's lost his overshields and he's lost like 40% of his actual shield. He seems to lock on here. And he goes straight in here, and he's basically like always sort of hitting like the edges and swaying left and right. Like he makes no attempt to aim central to mass. And I'm going to say the way he swings left and right, people say, oh, he's on a controller. Well, we've just seen that controller aim assist is way more precise, way more accurate. And I'd argue that people on keyboard and mouse are going to be way more accurate and way more precise. To be shooting so loosely on the edges of their aim, to me, looks like it's being made to look artificially bad because this is like platinum rating or whatever. So you'd expect people will be able to know how to aim. And they're also at a deficit, right? They've lost their overshields, they've lost 40% 90% of their actual shields, and run into engagement at a deficit with a blue auto shotty, and he's probably got, I'm not sure what weapon he's got, but he's at a deficit and still wins by aiming bad. So let's watch this again, but in slow motion. It's like almost there's zero aiming happen here. He's not even aiming. His crosshair never actually changes. He basically crouches up and down, up and down, up and down. He sidesteps left and right and goes up and down, up and down. And his aim, his crosshair never actually moves or attempts to auto-correct or anything like that. He just steps left and right and crouches up and down at the same time. But you can basically see there's almost no attempt to correct his crosshair at all. He's basically just standing in one spot, crouching up and down and sidestepping and shooting. And I just think human players wouldn't do that. People on a controller wouldn't do that. I think aim assist would be lock on more precisely, and human aim, if it was keyboard and mouse, would be more precise, more accurate, and attempt to correct the aim. I think this is an aimbot that is essentially looking bad because the player models within the FOV with a shotgun is within the field of view to get hit. And as long as there's hits happening, the aimbot's making no attempt to correct in any single way, because none of this to me seems like actual human aim. I mean, wouldn't you attempt to correct any of these? I mean, the crouching up and down while you're shooting, commonly people have macros to do that. So to me, like, I just think like this is, there's no signs of like human aim or controller aim assist like happening here. Like this aim just looks bad. Yet even at a deficit, they still win. And I can't really find a way to rationally reason why it's legit. It looks too bad to be legit, and it doesn't look good enough to be human, and it doesn't look as bullshit enough to be a controller aim assist. Can't reason away other than it's an aimbot that's made to look bad in order to circumvent an anti-cheat. Right, shooting looks like bad aimbot. I mean, that's what it looks like, right? It looks like bad aimbot. So, and I can't think of another reason around it that it looks like bad aimbot, as I've just been through the reasoning behind it. So this seems to be at a +1. You could say that this is a total of a 1.5 score rating, but I think it's completely fair and justified that because we have these other examples of what looked like aimbot, where they were locking onto people through the wall, like this here, I think we should return this back to a +1. This should be a +1. I should, that initial 0.5 that was taken off of it should be removed. This is just going to be a 0 now. So that should just be removed back to a +1. We've got these multiple ones here, 4 and 5, where it looked like they were locking onto the player around the corner. I think it's fair, given the fact that it seems like aimbot, to reclaim at least some of the value of these points, that they do have some merit, to 0.5 each. We have this one here, appears to lock on through wall here, and we'll change that to a 0.5 as well. I think this one's legit. I think this looking through the wall for no reason, I actually think that they might have just been actually drinking or doing something in real life. I think that's legit, potentially. Looking into the wall with no indication to do so is +1. You can either say it's a score of 1.5, or it's a score of 3. It's a score of 3.5, right? So this is a 1. Shooting looks like an aimbot is a +1. We've got a 0, 5, 2, 2, 5, 3, 5. A score of 3.5 altogether. And then following here will be the original section where I've done the same thing with Loctar's video. You might see flashes of a blackboard from a previous version of this section I've done. I've redone this section just because of the new information that I didn't have at the time about the medallion. So I thought I'd redo this again, but with the information about the medallion in place, so it's a more accurate version of this analysis. So I think it's fair and reasonable. I mean, you can say all you want about this not looking like an aimbot. I mean, I'm not going to go through the reasoning again, but like, I can't argue anyway. It looks like bad aim, and I just think human aim is better than that. That pretty much is it.
You. What are you looking at, Joe Blue? That indicator right there, that is
Yeah.
your destination. You're keeping it within eye view.
So claim one is, okay, one, keeping marker in view. What's his point? What's his point for that?
Still, just fakely aiming over here. You're just
Is he trying to claim that the marker is where a player is, that I've marked on the map whereabouts a player is, even though I have wall hacks? Even though I have wall hacks, right? So I'm keeping marker in view. I marked player on map. This is his argument, so it's a +1. Does it make sense if I do have wall hacks? 0, 1, -1. So we've got a 0 for this point. Does it make sense if I have wall hacks? So this is a non-argument.
just faking to aim over there.
So then he's like faking to aim left. So point two is faking to aim left +1, looking to see if players are there. What's the degree of likelihood? Well, we're out in the open. Most people, when you're out in the open, will be looking in all directions for players all of the time. So am I fake aiming left? Presumably because I'm keeping the marker that I've placed, which doesn't make sense. So this information here is based on this information here, which if I have wall hacks, doesn't make sense. Why would I mark a position of a player if I can see the player with wall hacks? That doesn't make any sense. So we've got 0 here. So he's faking aiming left because I'm keeping the marker that I've marked to mark player that I can see of my whole wall hacks, but I'm faking left to hide the fact that I can see a player with my wall hacks that I've also marked on my screen as to where a player is. Now, none of this is making any sense whatsoever. So it would seem more likely that I'm looking over there to see if there's players there. So -1, we've got the 0 here.
Still keeping it within eye view.
I'm facing forward and I'm climbing up buildings. I wouldn't be looking left and right while I'm sort of traversing objects and obstructions that are in front of me. So this is an erroneous claim that is completely superficial. There's no relevance whatsoever.
Now, see, what comes into light is that one there. This fountain down here. You know there is someone over here.
Okay, so what relevance does the fountain have to me knowing that there's a player to the right? So looking at fountain wall hacks, is there any evidence that there is a knowledge of the player to my right? No, there's no evidence that there is a player to my right. Why am I looking there? Logic would be I'm checking the main entrance, looking for people at the main entrance. So +1, +1 and -1, and we have 0. There's a perfectly logical reason why I'm looking there. He's claiming that there's a player there. There is no knowledge to tie that to a player to my right. And if I was, we'll go here, looking, no knowledge of player on right. What evidence does he have to suggest for this? Looking at the fountain. According to Loctar, because I'm looking at the fountain, that proves I have knowledge of a player to the right of the fountain. Does this track with any real logic? Again, this is just explained with the fact that I'm just looking at the main entrance, -1. So he has 0 for this claim here.
You know that. That's why you're always keeping this in eye view.
But if there's somebody over here, why not just looking over there? This is the main entrance. There's a perfectly reasonable explanation of why I'm looking at the main entrance where most of the people will be.
Or faking to aim elsewhere. See, faking
Just a claim.
to
I'm checking the further. Why do I need to fake a look left if I can see it? There's no. He's trying to because I claimed the gaming merchant did a fake snap left in order to obfuscate him snapping down the predicted path of movement of another player. He's trying to say that every time I look left, that's a fake look left. But that doesn't really make sense because me looking left randomly doesn't obfuscate me using wall hacks. I could stay here straight looking, that he would still claim that I'm looking at people with my wall hacks. And if I could see them here with wall hacks, why would I need to? He could also make the claim that I'm looking left to quickly check the area that there's nobody approaching with wall hacks. He could say wall hacks here as well. There's nothing to say that I'm not using wall hacks to quickly cover my left-hand side here. So how does he determine that it's a fake look left? 5. Fake look left +1. Could be looking left for players or using wall hacks to look left. It could be that I could be using wall hacks to look left and I could be looking legitimately if there are players there. Faking looking left makes no sense. How does fake looking left like obfuscate that I'm wall hacking right in front of me? It doesn't. There's no explanation for that. It doesn't. So this is again -1. So we've got 0. There's no value in this point whatsoever.
to aim elsewhere. See, faking to aim elsewhere. Directly back here. Faking to
I'm literally looking dead head here, but he's claiming that I'm keeping this fountain, of which you can see that there's nobody there if I have wall hacks, but I'm looking over here now, and he's still trying to claim that I'm looking at the fountain, even though I'm looking in this direction. I don't understand what he's saying.
to aim over there. Still keeping this in eye view.
I'm keeping the main entrance in view, and, I'm looking left
You're
and
doing
right constantly all the time.
the exact thing.
No,
Still
I'm not.
keeping it in.
It's the main entrance. This is where most of the people are going to be coming and going from. Okay, so he's making the same argument again. So shall we just go 6? Still keeping fountain in view. +1. No one can be seen at fountain. -1. So another 0. Why do I keep the fountain in view when we can see that there's nobody at the fountain? If I've got wall hacks, why am I fixated on the fountain? Maybe because I'm not looking at the fountain. I'm looking at the main entrance where people will be coming and going.
Still keeping it. You're literally turning your camera
Yeah, that's what people do. They turn their camera when they move their camera around.
to make sure you still have the fountain in angle.
But there's nobody at the fountain. Originally, in his original claim, it was keeping I was locked onto a player on the stairwell.
Because you know there
Even though
are someone. That's
even though you
called
can't see
wall
anyone
hack.
there. No, because we have no knowledge of where this other player is
And then here
currently.
you're gonna strafe. See, you're
Why would I be looking at the fountain? Like, we know that the player comes from the tree to the right of the fountain. So it's assumed that there's nobody there at the fountain currently.
aiming there. Aiming there because you know there's no one.
How do I know? How do you know that there's nobody there? So 7, I look right because I know there's no one there. Why would I look there if I know there's nobody there? +1, -1, because I'm faking it, because I'm fake looking right. +1 again. And it's like, I could just be looking over there because, could just be checking the angle. Could just be checking the angle. So back -1. We have another 0 here.
Here, you're aiming back at the fucking fountain again. You're
But we know there's nobody there. Right, so this is actually 8. So we can just put 8 here, and I'm checking the main entrance. No one can be seen at the fountain. So this is another 0. Again, it's the same argument he's making again, but it's exactly the same response. It hasn't changed.
doing the same thing you complain about. And why are you doing it? This here is
So we can see no one is around the fountain area. So again, this proves why would I keep looking at the fountain when we know there's no evidence and there never has been any evidence that anyone has been at the fountain
why.
and somebody runs from the bush. So we can all we have, all the information that this player is there is that they came from this tree from the right. So all we can assume is they came from that direction. That's all the knowledge we know. We don't know if they came from this right-hand side, and we do not know if they came from this left-hand side. So Loctar's argument is here is 8 player shows up, okay, and then a +1. And the refutation of this is high traffic area, game knowledge paying off, -1. That gives this one a 0. Them being there is coincidental and is really a byproduct of me keeping the main entrance in sight at all times, which any human player would have done, and there is no evidence at all at any point to suggest that I have wall hacks. So we've done a somewhat quantitative look at each person's individual clips, and my argumentation has actual value in it, whether you agree with the conclusion or not. My argumentation actually has value in it, and Loctar's has no value in the things that he says. Everything that he says can be attributed to normal human play, and there is not a reason to justify these accusations. So when he says it's exactly the same, it is factually not true. It is not the same what he's doing. He is doing a facsimile of what I do. He is not using the same standard of inquiry that I myself am using. He's using a much lesser, superficial, cheap copy of the version that I do and masquerading it as the logic that I use, yet it seems to have none of the value that is attributed to my argumentation, and every argument has a reasonable explanation to explain it away, which is why it ends up with no value. So, how can it be exactly the same if I can reason an alternative explanation as to why you're wrong? This is what I'm asking other people to do to me, to provide reasonable refutations of the claims that people make, but nobody does that. I've attempted to do it my own self, what I can think of, and these are the conclusions that I've come to. And you can disagree with the 0.5s, but I think the other ones are pretty solid. Most of the points that I made turned out to be wrong, that there were reasonable things to argue it away. But overall, all of the points combined, I'd still come up with a net positive in favor of my view, whereas not a single one of Loctar's has actually come up with any value whatsoever, refuting his main points and claims, proving they're not the same. You are not arguing the same as me. You are arguing to a different standard, committing the very double standard fallacy you accuse me of, because you will not engage in the same level of inquiry as me and engage in actual refutation of the main points as I have done to you. You are doing a facsimile, copying what I do poorly and badly to a different standard, and then using it to character assassinate me while claiming you're doing the same thing. You are not. I have proven it. Please stop saying you're doing the same thing. You are not. You're bullying and harassing me using an ad hominem that has an embedded double standard fallacy at the heart of it, because you are not using the same standard as me. I'm trying to get everybody to argue to the same standard as I am, to be held accountable to the same standard that I use. So when I ask people, can you back that up? Can you prove me wrong? I am trying to incite people to argue in good faith to the same standard that I make my inquiries at, in the same way that I have refuted Loctar's claims against me. I am using my logic and reason to refute the claims that he makes. And this is what I expect from every other person who engages in discourse with me. You can't claim that it's the reverse burden of proof fallacy. No, if somebody says they disagree, I'm asking why. That's not a reversal burden of proof fallacy. It's literally, you're supposed to tell people why you disagree with somebody. If you don't like something, you're supposed to say why you don't like something. If I have an opinion on something, I explain why I have that opinion. This is what intelligent human beings do. They explain and they back up their positions of the things that they believe and the things that they think are true, their opinions. Whereas you're not doing that. You disagree with me, but you do not argue my main position. You instead copy a facsimile of what I do to character assassinate me with. You never address my main position like I've addressed all of your main positions and have refuted every single point that you have made, and it's come out at having zero value, having perfectly reasonable explanations to explain all of the points that you make. It is not the same. Again, you accuse me of wall hacking. I never accused this other person of wall hacking. I accused them of aimbotting, but I didn't accuse them of wall hacking. So you've got that slightly wrong. You can say that I'm accusing them of cheating, fair enough, but I didn't accuse them of wall hacks. I speculated that they had wall hacks. I accused the other player of wall hacks, which you yourself also questioned.
And how does that dude know there was a dude about the corner?
So Loctar's also questioning why this other person is holding the angle and knows the other player is around the corner. He's agreeing with it.
And what is it you're saying? I've told you I've used fair use. You're not doing that. This is harassment, bullying, and trolling.
Loctar, can you tell me what's fair about you copying what I do and then making completely ridiculous claims that have completely reasonable explanations for, and then claim that what you're doing is fair? How is it fair? You're not arguing against my main position. You're not even using the same level of inquiry that I use. You're making very superficial claims based on statements, your claims, and coincidence that somebody happens to be there. Therefore, because I'm looking around and I'm keeping a certain area in view, and at a later date a person happens to run by that area, that means I'm using wall hacks. That's very weak argument. Why do you think that it's fair to use such a poor argumentation against me to claim that I'm using cheats and claim that what you do is equal to what I do? It isn't equal to what I do. And I'm also not on people's channels or harassing people either.
I'm literally criticizing your
You're not criticizing me. You are mocking me. You're making a mockery of me. You're copying a facsimile of what I do and making a mockery of me. You are not criticizing me in any way, shape, or form. You are mocking me.
perspective of this person here. This person using
No, I'm inquiring to the suspicious things. We've already gone through the evidence. What you're doing is mockery.
wall hack when you're literally doing the exact same thing.
No, that's not, you're not criticizing my argument. You are making a mockery of me, pretending to have the same level of inquiry as me, applying it to me, but everything that you point to has reasonable explanations to argue it away. And you don't have any actual valuable insight as to your claims that I'm cheating in any way, shape, or form. So what you're doing isn't fair. You're just making a mockery of me. You are not addressing my main argument, and that is the definition of an ad hominem. You're attacking my character, you're mocking me, and you're not actually attacking my main position. You're not addressing the argumentation of the player that I'm speculating is cheating. You are just making a facsimile of what I do and making a mockery of me for the purpose of attacking my character. That is the difference between me and you.
You're literally using wall hack for that person there. Okay, you have no actual argument or genuine criticism.
Correct. You have no genuine criticism. You have no actual arguments, which we've just gone through step by step. You have no genuine criticism and you have no actual arguments.
No? I'm
No,
literally showing you
correct.
right there.
Show him what? What did you show? You just said that person's looking at stuff, and I'm going to say because you're looking at stuff, that means wall hacks. You claim wall hacks because they're looking at stuff and you're looking at stuff, so I can also claim wall hacks. That's the very surface level of his argumentation against me. And do you think that's fair? Do you think that's accurate? We've been through it and we know that it's clearly not accurate. So what he's saying here is false.
That what you're doing is a double standard.
It's not a double standard. You're committing a double standard. You are making a facsimile of what I do, and you do not apply the same standard of inquiry as I do. So you're using your own standard, a made up standard that has been used for the purpose of mockery because you think that I do, or that what you want other people to think I do, and is not an accurate representation of what I do. It's a misrepresentation attempt to mock me, and it's not criticizing my actual argumentation. It is just for the purpose of character assassination and mockery.
You can claim others are cheating while we cannot claim you're cheating
You can absolutely claim that I'm cheating, but you actually need arguments and valid criticism to claim that I am cheating, and you do not have any.
on the same premise.
It's the same premise, but you have no evidence.
Mm-hmm. Right. You
Exactly. You see how he cuts it off. It's the same premise. That's all that matters. Is the same premise. No, I have the premise and I have the evidence. You just have a premise and you have none of the evidence. That's the difference. That's what makes mine not a breach of TOS and yours a breach of TOS. Because you don't have evidence to your claims. It's slander and libel. It's a character assassination. That's the difference, Loctar.
you then continue. You still haven't provided any argument that what I show isn't cheating from these players.
Correct.
No,
Exactly. No, you haven't.
because you're asking me to provide evidence for your lies. That's reverse burden of truth.
No, it's not. How can it be reverse burden of proof, my friend? If you're claiming that I am a liar, that my accusations or speculations against other players cheating are lies, and I'm asking you to provide an argument of why I'm lying, in your opinion, you claim is giving me evidence for my lies? No, that's supposed to be disproving my lies, right? If you were to disprove my argumentation, you'd be providing evidence that I was lying or at least being incorrect, right? Being incorrect or lying, if I was doing it with malicious intent, you'd have to prove intent to prove that I was lying. You'd only be able to prove that I was wrong if you were able to refute my claims about the player. You wouldn't be able to prove that I was lying. But if your premise is that I am lying, then you providing a refutation of my argumentation would be at least proving that I'm wrong and potentially was lying, which would be beneficial to prove your side. You saying no because I don't want to give evidence to your lies makes no sense. You're not going to be giving evidence to my lies. By you not responding, you're giving evidence to me that you cannot refute the claims, which you'll then claim is also reverse burden of proof reversal, even though you're claiming that you don't want to give evidence against the arguments because you're also claiming that's reverse burden of proof fallacy. So it's like no matter which way I'm going to argue it, you're going to claim that it's a reverse burden of proof fallacy. When in reality is you're not arguing against my main position. You are engaging in character assassination, which is an ad hominem attack.
Reverse burden of proof, not truth. Reverse burden of proof fallacy. A reversal of burden of truth is when the person.
Reversal of the burden of proof is when the person making the assertion irrationally claims that it's up to others to disprove their assertion rather than up to them to support it. Example, person A, I have a tattoo on my back. Let's go and read the example. Let's go and find this example. The reversal of the burden of proof is when somebody makes an affirmative claim and thinks that their claim is justified. Have I made an affirmative claim? Have I said this person is absolutely cheating, or have I always stated there could be a chance that I'm wrong, but I'm arguing in favor of likelihood? So have I made an affirmative claim? I don't think I've ever made an affirmative claim, unless it was a knee-jerk reaction because I was really annoyed. My general argumentation would be I argue for likelihood and probability of being correct, but it doesn't mean I am correct and I can be wrong, and I have said that on many occasions. So not making an affirmative claim and thinks that their claim is justified as long as nobody else can prove that it is false. I've never said that either. I've always said that, as I said at the beginning, an argument is only considered to be true as long as nobody can actually argue against it, but it could be proved wrong at a later date. That's how it goes. In reality, the person who makes an affirmative claim must provide evidence and/or arguments to support the claim in order to be justified. And I have provided evidence and arguments to support my claim. Therefore, it is justified, even if it is not correct. A justification for doing something doesn't necessarily mean that what you're doing is necessarily right. It just means you have a justification for doing so. I've supported my claims with arguments and evidence to justify my position. I have done that. So I can't be doing a reverse burden of proof because I have argued and evidenced and justified my position. Even if it's wrong, I've still justified my position. People often try to reverse the burden of proof in order to avoid having to admit that they can't actually justify their claim. I have justified my claim. So again, Loctar here is falsely attributing these fallacies onto me that I'm not making because Loctar doesn't understand these doesn't understand these definitions. We go back to the definition that he cites. A reversal of the burden of proof is when a person making the assertion irrationally claims that it's up to others to disprove their assertion. Have I ever irrationally claimed that it's up to you to disprove me? Or have I only ever asked people who have disagreed with me for their reasoning or argumentation? I've always asked for people's reasoning and argumentation. I've never irrationally claimed that it's up to you to disprove me. I've never said that. I've always said, can you give me a reason why you disagree with me or why you think I'm wrong? Or can you actually refute the evidence, the points that I make about a certain player or person? This is not reverse burden of proof. He doesn't understand the definition and he is falsely applying these definitions to me.
Making the assertion irrationally claims that it is up to the other to prove their assertion. That is what you're doing. This
No,
guy is
no.
cheating. You need to prove that he is not.
I've justified my claim with argumentation and evidence. It doesn't have to be right, but there has to be a justification for it, and there is a justification for it. So the reversal of the burden of proof is not relevant to me.
That's what you're doing.
Nope.
That's like a Christian asking an atheist prove that God does not exist.
But I'm not saying that. I'm not saying God doesn't exist. We know that cheats do exist. We know that wall hacks and aimbots do exist. So it's not even the same. This is completely a false comparison.
It's the same thing.
It's not. We know cheats and wall hacks exist. None of the claims that I'm making is saying that somebody is cheating as to saying disprove that cheaters exist. So I'm saying that's what I'm saying. I'm saying cheaters exist, and and he's equating it to saying, oh, God exists. Disprove me. Cheaters exist. Disprove that cheaters don't exist. I'm not saying that. It's a false equivocation. What Loctar is doing here.
You're doing this here, Joe.
No, I'm
Joe
not.
claims people are cheating. Joe demands everyone else must.
No, I don't. Where do I demand that people have to disprove me? People disagree with me, and I ask them, do you have a reason why you disagree? Can you provide an argument against me if you disagree? I'm not demanding anybody to disprove me. But if you want to argue against me, if you want to say I'm wrong, at least have the good faith to bring a reason why you disagree with me. And if you think my points are incorrect, please explain to me why you think that they are incorrect. I'm not demanding that you disprove me. I've already justified my position that I believe to be in the degree of likelihood. If you disagree with that, you're in your right to disagree with it, but it would be in good faith for you to provide a reason. To not provide a reason and to enter into discourse with me in bad faith would make me think that you have an ulterior motive to go against me and that you don't actually have an argument, which will make me think you're a cheater. Even if that's wrong, it will make me think you're a cheater because that would be the most likely outcome. Because the only type of people that don't have an argument when they disagree with somebody are people who aren't intelligent enough to make arguments, or people who know you're right, but they're opposed against you and they have to disagree with you, but can't actually provide an argument. So in the situation where somebody is opposed to me in disagreement, but can't actually disprove what I'm saying is true or provide an argument of why they think I'm wrong, then the motivation for that would be, presumably, they're a cheater, since the topic that I cover is cheating. And if they disagree with me, but can't provide an argument to otherwise give another reason why I'm mistaken or wrong, then it would seem likely they are a cheater, is the reason why that they are disagreeing with me and they don't actually have an argument.
Prove they are not. That's what you're doing.
No, it's not.
You're saying it right there.
You still haven't provided any argument that what I show isn't cheating from these players. If people, you are disagreeing with me, you, Loctar, are disagreeing with me that what I show isn't cheats. That's your claim against me. You should be supporting your claims. You're not supporting your claims against me. I've made my claims, I've supported my claims. You then make claims against my claims, but then you don't provide why you disagree with my evidence. And if you're engaging in good faith argument with me, you would provide that reasoning with me. So you've ignored my main premise, my main argument to defame me and to character assassinate me by using a form of mockery of what I do, which you think is genuine criticism when you're actually ignoring my actual arguments.
What I show isn't cheating.
Right, you haven't shown that it isn't cheating. You've not provided a reasonable refutation. You've made claims about me cheating, and I provided reasonable refutation as to why that your points are probably not true, right? If I'm talking in I know I'm not cheating, but I'm being diplomatic, right? I'm trying to be neutral. So you've made these claims, I've refuted them with logic that there are perfectly reasonable explanations to explain the phenomena that you're seeing. I see phenomena with other players. I logically have a line of questioning or inquiry that leads me to believe that it is evidence of cheats. And I'm asking you to reasonably refute those claims to provide a legitimate human reason why these phenomena, these actions are happening and how it doesn't relate to cheats, just as I've done with you. So again, you're not holding me to the same standard I'm holding you and I hold myself in. You're using a different standard, a double standard.
We're not meant to prove that what you show is not cheating. We're meant to criticize that it's not enough.
It's almost like he caught himself knowing he knows. Can I say he knows he's not criticizing the point, and now he's stuck. Oh shit! How do I word this? I've kind of dropped the ball here.
What you show is not cheating. We're meant to criticize that it's not.
We're meant to criticize that it's not cheating. He had to catch himself from the Freudian slip he was about to make. He knows that his position is supposed to be providing genuine criticism, that what I show isn't cheating. But he's had to stop himself because he knows that's the truth. That's what he's supposed to be doing. But he wants to make out that by doing that, it's a reverse burden of proof fallacy. See, Loctar is engaging in dishonesty. Nothing he says is actually true. And right there, he's been caught. He was about to say exactly what I've been asking people to do.
What I show isn't cheating. We're not meant to prove that what you show is not cheating. We're meant to criticize that it's not.
That it's not cheating. That it's not cheating. You're meant to be criticizing that it's not cheating. Like, if I'm making a claim and I'm proving evidence, I think that this is cheating. It's not your job to disprove that what I say isn't cheating. But if you want to enter into a debate with me and you think I'm wrong on my points, you have the right to explain why you think what I'm presenting as evidence isn't valid evidence. Like, that is what good faith argument or good faith debate is about. You'll not necessarily disprove my points, but you'll at least provide reasoning of your own, whether right or wrong, whether better or worse, as a reason why you disagree with the points that I make. Locktar seems to think that it's okay to say, no, Joe Blue, you're wrong. You're wrong because I can do the same sort of criticism to you, and that somehow makes points that you raise about other players not valid, even though I've refuted all of his claims against me reasonably. And really, he needs to do the same for me. I've attempted to do it neutrally myself. That's how I've arrived at the conclusion, but I may have overlooked something. I might have missed something. Somebody else might be able to give me a perspective that I hadn't considered that might make me think, oh no, you are right. That maybe in this instance it's not cheating, and I can learn from that and not make that mistake in the future, and that will make my observations in the future stronger and more potent. So I invite criticism, genuine criticism, because it will actually help me be better at forming my argumentation in the future. But you're not doing any of this, Locktar. You're engaging in character assassination and mockery, and all of the fallacies that you attribute to me, you're in fact doing yourself. This is projection, Locktar.
Enough evidence of cheating.
Who are you to decide what is enough evidence or not? Do you have a actual counter or some kind of method to determine if the amount of evidence that I'm using is sound or not, that you can run the evidence through? Are you the authority to determine if my level of evidence is actually correct or not? Are you providing any reasoning to suggest that you can just hand wave dismissal of my evidence? Because do you have different standards to me, Locktar? Do you not have to prove your claims like I have to prove my claims of evidence? Can you just say my evidence isn't good enough and that's all you need to do because you have a God complex and you're just superior because you have a double standard? You don't need to back up your claims or prove why you're saying is correct or what I'm saying is wrong in any way. You just have to say that it is wrong. And it's not your job to actually prove that it is wrong. You just have to say it because you operate on different standards to me. I prove everything I say to the best of my ability, with evidence, with argumentation, with logic. Whether I'm disagreeing with somebody else's opinion, I'll always tell them why I disagree with their opinion, and I'll back it up with evidence, argumentation, and logic where necessary and if necessary. That's the standard that I conduct myself with. But you're saying you don't have to conduct yourself at that standard. You can just say, no, Joe, we think you're wrong, and that's good enough. And if you demand reasons from us, we're going to tell you it's the reverse burden of proof fallacy. Do you think that's fair, Loctar? Do you think you're engaging in good faith argumentation by just saying that we're just better than you, Joe? We can just say you're wrong, and that's good enough for us. You're wrong, Joe. We don't have to prove it. We are the many. We all tell you you're wrong. Therefore, it must be true because we operate to different standards to you. Double standards.
And then you need to give more. You can't say it's double standard. You have to prove it. I
Exactly.
just did.
No, you didn't. False equivocation.
You claim that I have no evidence of you using wallhack when you're claiming this person here is using wallhack
But I have evidence. I have points. We've gone through it. We've been through this.
because he's waiting and always keeping the person in an angle. When you
But why do they keep the person in the angle? There's no reason for them to look that way, Loctar. There's no reason for them to keep that in angle when the threat is the corridor. Anybody coming left or right will be coming from this way. They need to be looking in that direction for anybody. Somebody could crouch walk around here right now. If they were looking at that wall, someone could crouch round the left and go bang, 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 blaze them up. They wouldn't have known why. Looking at the wall. They weren't looking where the danger's coming from. So why would somebody, when this room's clear with no access to that room, will be looking in that direction when there coincidentally just happens to be a player there as well? When it makes no sense for them to do that. All of the claims that you lobby at me, there are perfectly reasonable reasons why I'd be looking in all of those directions. You're just making false claims with literally zero evidence, no actual valuable insight or argumentation or logic is being applied. It's just they're looking somewhere, you're saying cheats, you're looking somewhere, so I'm saying cheats. That's all you're doing. And that's a misrepresentation of what I do, which is a character assassination, a form of defamation, an ad hominem, which is the logical fallacies that you say that I'm doing, which again, I'm proving and explaining how and why it's you that is doing these things. You are not doing the same. You say double standard, but you're not really showing or explaining how I'm committing a double standard. You are just saying you're doing that, he's doing that, it's the same. That's a claim. Using a claim to say that I'm committing a double standard. You're claiming I'm committing a double standard, and then you've got another claim to say that that's what proves that you're doing a double standard. You've explained nothing, Loctar. You've had no explanation to tie the claim with the fallacy.
did the exact same thing all the way over here.
It's not the
There's
exact
no
same
need to
thing.
crouch there. You have
I'm using the roof here as cover. If there's anybody over there, I can peek over the top. This is standard Fortnite play. Everybody does this. In any third person game, whether it's PUBG third person mode or any kind of game where there is a third person, people will look down, crouch behind walls or slanted objects in order to use the third person view to look around in safety so that you can't be shot at, which you can't do in a first person game. You actually have to peek your head over the top and get your head blown off. In a third person game, I can creep down, use the rooftop to look around without ever having shots being fired at me. That's why I'm doing it. Do you see? You make these claims of which there are perfectly reasonable explanations for that everybody does. Everybody looks around them in an open world game. Everybody uses cover to use third person mode to look around for information. So whenever you're looking around an open world, it is always likely that if you look in a direction, you might see a player in that direction. Or you might look in a direction and a player appears into your field of view. If you're constantly looking around all the time in an open world, it's highly likely sooner or later you're either going to see somebody in your field of view or somebody's going to walk into your field of view. And that's the reason why your claims of me just looking here, looking there is evidence of wall hack has absolutely no validity whatsoever, because that's what everybody does in an open world game. Unless your grandpa hacks and you're spectating my replay with wall hacks and you actually have wall hacks running and you can actually see where all the players are and you can see if I'm actually looking a lot in the direction where the players are, then you'd actually have knowledge of player locations to tie it directly to to my behavior that I am doing, and then you'd have a stronger argument to suggest that I was using wall hacks. But you don't have actual knowledge of where players are. You're just using the things that everybody does, then claiming wall hacks when the reasonable refutation implication of it is that's what everybody does, mate. That's the name of the game. That's how the game is played. And I'm not going to watch any more of this video. This is as far as I've got. I'm not going to pay any more attention to this person here. I'm going to block this account as well from my channel. I can do better. This is his second account that I've blocked. I've never censored anybody's individual comments. I have never censored anybody else. I've only ever blocked Loctar because he's a troll. Once I've blocked his means of trolling, he's escalated his means of trolling to be even more elaborate, to be even better. So I can do better trolling. Isn't his clues in the name that he's just a troll? He's had his means of trolling blocked, and so now he wants to create his own space that I can't delete or remove so that he can carry on trolling me. That's all he's doing. He's just a troll. And that's why what he's doing is against terms of service. He has no genuine criticism. He has nothing. That pretty much wraps up what I wanted to say about Loctar, the sort of the final video. This is a condensed version, one section taken out of a 2.5 hour long video, and just concentrating on Loctar's strawman. That's basically what it is. What Loctar's doing is a strawman argument. Typically, a typical strawman argument is where you take another person's argument, but then you sort of misrepresent that argument, and then you attack the misrepresentation of that argument, debunk it, and then claim you've beaten the person's argument. While it's not the typical sort of definition of a straw man fallacy or a straw man argument, I still think that this is a straw man because he's taking my argumentation style and building a straw man version of my argumentation style and then using it as a form of mockery to debunk the way in which I analyze cheater claims and accusations and such, right? He's trying to do a mock version of what I do, what he believes is valid criticism, when really he's building a straw man of me, like a literal straw man of me, then using the straw man and mocking the straw man and using it as a way to discredit what I do. So it's kind of like a straw man. It's not the exact definition of a straw man, but it's almost identical in it being a straw man fallacy that he's doing. Maybe there's a more specific version of this straw man that is more accurate to what this particular way in which he's building this straw man of me out there, but I don't know what it is. But I know that it's very similar to that of an actual typical straw man argument. So I'm going to refer to it as a straw man argument because I believe it is a straw man argument. That pretty much is it for this video. I don't think there's anything else. So GG guys, laters, peace.
They're coming for you. Look, there comes one of them now.